Hello and welcome everyone back to another episode 3 of Masterpiece Media Podcast where one person brings to the table a piece of media they are very passionate about, one they might call a masterpiece, and try to convince the other that it is indeed just that.
Trying to convince implies that the person's definitely coming in against it, and we don't know that for sure.
Well, yeah, or try to at least get them to see why we think that piece of media qualifies as a masterpiece.
Fair, that is fair. I guess
maybe if they're not quite on the same page.
That's true. Which, like this first season of the show, where I guess this is also where we're going to explain the slight change in formatting going forward a little bit later.
Yeah.
So, we had previously said that season 1 was going to be all about Chris's favorite show, Adventure Time. It still is. Season 1 is still going to be all about Adventure Time, but season 1 is not going to be the length we had initially thought. We initially had set out to be like, we're going to review every episode of Adventure Time. Yeah. In this show, it's going to be a 66 episode season, and just
you know what?
Yeah, logistically,
maybe a bit ambitious.
Yeah, especially as we're trying to grow a channel. A series that long is harder to jump into, and so at some point we will definitely review all Adventure Time. But the new plan for season 1 is to just review the first 2 seasons of Adventure Time. So today we are going to be continuing talking about season 1 of Adventure Time. We're going to be talking about episodes 8 and 9. Misspoke. Episodes 9 through 12.
12. Yeah.
So,
all right. So, episode 9 is titled "My Two Favorite People."
Which I guess just real quick, I just want to start by saying I love this episode. Like, this episode might be my favorite episode. Like, this episode's great.
You'll have plenty more episodes where you're like, oh, this might be my new favorite episode.
Yeah. It's just a great show. Little peek behind the curtain. This episode title, I've already decided it. This episode is going to be cleverly titled "My Two Favorite Episodes," because there is another episode that I think trumps my previous favorite episode that we are also reviewing today. So.
Yes.
Yes. So this episode is this is titled "My Two Favorite Episodes."
The episode starts out and Finn and Jake are fighting two dudes. One's a giant shark guy with a sword, and one's a little cat scientist.
As you do.
When Jake realizes that he's late for his hangout with his girlfriend, Lady Rainicorn. And, Finn's a little bit bummed out about this because, every week at 5 he cuts these guys' heads off and then they regrow back the next week. And Jake's like, wow, that's crazy. If only I was there to see it. But he's always got to leave.
I hate to correct you, but this is a very important plot point. It's actually
go on.
4 o'clock.
All right, shut up. I hate you.
It's 4 o'clock on the nose every week. I mean, I'm just saying it is established throughout the show.
I'm sorry. It was late when I watched it last night, and I didn't write down the time. I'm sorry.
Just disappointed. I want to help make you better.
Yeah, thank you for holding me accountable.
I'm here for you.
So, so Jake goes to hang out with Lady Rainicorn, and he arrives a bit late. It's sunset, and they hang out for a little bit. And Lady Rainicorn's using her magical horn to turn trees different colors. They're having a good old time. But shortly after, Lady Rainicorn has to retire for the night because it's getting late. She's got to go to bed, get that beauty rest. And Jake's kind of bummed out about that. And then has this this internal battle with himself, where he's torn between hanging out with, his girlfriend and his best friend.
Yeah.
And, as we all are. Because you want to hang out with your buds, but also you want to hang out with your babe.
I wouldn't know this dilemma because girls are not interested in me. So I don't really feel for Jake here. I'll be real.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess that I have been the Jake in this
Oh.
situation. Not anymore. I'm very single now.
Yeah. We're all alone forever.
And then in this episode, while Jake is having this kind of dilemma, we get introduced to the worm Shelby that lives inside Jake Viola. And Shelby suggests to Jake that he should hang out with both of them at the same time. Which, how did he not think of that before? So the scene transitions, and they do just that. They all try to hang out together. But if you have tuned in to our previous podcast reviewing the show, you know that Lady Rainicorn speaks only Korean. Literally just Korean all the time. And Jake is fluent in Korean, so of course he understands her.
Well, yeah.
But Jake definitely does not.
Finn does not.
You're right. Yep. No, I definitely meant.
You definitely said Jake twice.
But I didn't. I said Jake both times.
Yeah.
Very nice. And so there's this kind of like awkward language barrier, and they're like all trying to hang out and tell jokes. It's some stuff that's not quite connected because of that language barrier. And Finn gets kind of bummed out.
I feel like it's explained away as the language barrier, but also it definitely in that scene kind of feels more like she just doesn't find him funny. That's kind of forgotten later when the language barrier goes away, but even after it was explained like what he was doing, she didn't seem to find it funny. So I felt like that was kind of a weird, like, at first, like, oh, they're just not meshing his personalities, but then it was kind of explained away, and throughout the rest of the episode it's treated as it was just the language barrier.
Well, it was the translation of the joke didn't quite go through, and she didn't really pick up on the fact that it was a joke. What Finn was trying to say, certain things in certain cultures that don't exactly translate very well. And I mean that's the Rainicorn culture is very, very much different.
Of course.
Than, well, I guess
human culture.
Although there is. Spoiler alert, there's not really a human culture. It's just Finn. Bum bum bum. But yeah. And so Jake kind of bummed out about the fact that, maybe they won't be able to hang out. Remembers there's a universal translator device at the bottom of a lake that he tossed there. And he's like, man, I don't remember where I tossed that in there. And so they all go to retrieve said translation.
The problem is that lake. It's it's being guarded by like these these knights.
Gnomes?
I thought they called them knights of something before.
They looked very much like the gnomes in the previous episode that flew.
Yeah, I could definitely see that.
I called them fish gnomes.
I think I called them. I just said it was guarded by knights. Because that's what they said they were something knights, and I only remembered the knights.
Fair enough. But there's a very epic underwater battle scene where Finn, Jake, and Lady Rainicorn all fight off the little gnomes and retrieve the translation device.
Because almost every battle scene in the whole show, there is almost no issue for our main characters. They are literally the best fighters ever. They're awesome.
I mean, if you've seen Lady Rainicorn in combat, she did a cool little twirl move, the twirl move where she became a fan. It was very good. She was like a giant noodle. I enjoyed it very much. Just the fact that she could somehow straighten out her body and also propel enough force, just going straight. It doesn't make sense, but I like it anyways. And Finn is very impressed by Lady Rainicorn's combat abilities.
Well, how could you not be?
I mean, right? So, Jake very eagerly puts on the universal translation device. So,
the problem here is that there's only 3 options. There's Nightmare, which is just
that kind of.
We got Nerdy Alien, which is just kind of like
also alien nonsense noises.
And Old Man.
Which is everything that you could hope it would be.
Yes, she sounds straight up like an old man. And because that's the only one in English, they have to go with it.
Reminded why he threw the translation device into the bottom of the link. He definitely is not a fan of the old man voice.
No.
But is the only option that is available for them to use that actually be able to help Finn understand her. So, there's that. But, Finn loves the voice because it's hilarious. Where am I? I've gotten lost.
At this point, they're kind of on their way home, and Finn is right on her neck, holding on real well. But Jake is on the back and falls off of her.
It's like flapping in the wind. It's because they see a wizard selling power rings in the forest.
I think he was just giving them away, is what they said. I don't think he was even selling them. Just free power rings, which is insane. You know how much a power ring goes for these days? I don't, because it's made up for the show.
Yeah, me neither. But boy, would I like to have a set.
Yeah, they did some weird stuff.
Just like that. And so Jake falls off. Lady Rainicorn and Finn get all these cool power rings, and Jake is, left out and left behind.
Yeah. When he meets back up with them, Finn tries to give him one, but he can't because they're cursed, and they're stuck on him.
Can't take them off. Like, whoops. Uh-oh. He tries to be a good friend, but he can't. Jake's a little bit bummed out about it. And so they do make it home, eventually. And Finn and Lady Rainicorn are playing video games, just really hitting it off. And Lady Rainicorn's really good at this racing video game they're playing.
I guess it was racing. It looked like a racing game, but they also didn't look like they were actually racing. It was weird. Yeah.
Look, Emo is very limited in its capabilities, but also not.
But yeah,
find out later.
So Jake, he's trying to spend time with each of them. He's like, hey, you want to play music, Lady Rainicorn? She's like, no, I'm busy, playing video games. And he goes over to Finn. He's like, hey, you want to go adventure? And Finn's like, no, I'm playing video games. And just kind of the spiraling of Jake getting very jealous.
Yeah. He gets very, very melodramatic as well, and he's very
crosses his arms and goes, very very mad and very over dramatic.
Very much like 7-year-old kid who isn't getting what they want kind of thing going on. It's very, it's good. I like it a lot.
This is a great episode. I love this episode, and we haven't even got to the point that pushed this episode over the top into my favorite episode. We will get to that. So at this point, Finn's trying to convince Jake to go to this party with him and Lady Rainicorn because they're invited to this party in the clouds with cloud people, and Jake's just having none of it because he wants to be angry and jealous instead.
Yeah, as you do.
So he lets him go to the party without him because he'd rather be grumpy, and they kind of have like a little bit of a time cut. We cut a little bit further away, and Jake's starting to be like, "Where are they? They should be home by now." So he calls the cloud people, and they're like, "Ah, they left a while ago," and now Jake's starting to worry. He's like, well, where are they then? Why aren't they back? So
Jake kind of panics and runs out of the treehouse, searching far and wide for Lady Rainicorn and Jake, and he finds them at Lady Rainicorn's house, sitting on top of the roof, where she would normally be changing colors of things with Jake sitting right by. But instead, it's Finn sitting by her side. And Finn's just like, haha, turn that pink, turn that purple. Haha, turn that blue.
They're just, expressing how they both, enjoy spending time with each other. And
yeah. that does not sit well with Jake.
How dare Finn have
hey,
his...
I like you.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, I like you too.
Yeah.
And Jake is like, No.
Because, his girl is in, the arms of his best friend.
Yeah. Man, couldn't imagine. It's. Ugh. And so, Jake devises a plot to make both Lady Rainicorn and Finn as jealous as he is.
Yeah. So he starts flipping.
and
He starts flipping through his phone, and he finds
his phone contacts.
Yeah, and he finds this name, the name Tiffany, and he's like, "That's it." So he calls Tiffany.
Mm-hmm. And then we get to see Lady Rainicorn and Finn hear this the sound of two violas being played together.
Mm-hmm.
And when they go into this clearing, they find it's Jake and this little figure with long blonde hair.
Blonde hair that must be Tiffany, obviously, and
yeah, definitely Tiffany.
And Lady Rainicorn is obviously jealous because he's playing music with another person. This long-haired, feminine-looking person. That like, how dare he do that? And Jake's like, I'm gonna make both of you jealous. And Finn's like, well, why would I be jealous?
Because Tiffany's a boy.
Tiffany turns around. It's like, because I'm a boy and I'm gonna be his best friend. And that was the point where I was like,
out.
That was the point where I was like, this is the greatest episode ever. That reveal, the reveal of Tiffany was chef's kiss. It was amazing.
Pretty good. Tiffany is pretty good. And so Finn and Tiffany fight, and of course Finn, manages to fend off Tiffany, and Tiffany kind of runs away, and then kind of screams back that she will be Jake's best friend.
He will. Tiffany is a boy.
Yep, I definitely said she.
You did.
I'm tired.
It's okay. We only have to
muttering all of my words.
We only have to finish all of this podcast and another one.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's fine.
Right.
So then Lady Rainicorn and Jake, while the fight's happening, Lady Rainicorn and Jake kind of start talking about how he's jealous and why he's jealous, and she basically tells him there's no reason to be jealous. Like, I love you.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong. I'm just me and Finn. We're just getting along because you wanted us to get along. We're doing exactly what you told us to do. And that's all I have written down. I think that's pretty much it.
Well, yeah, they end out the episode, and it's definitely one of my favorite lines. I think in Adventure Time, at least in the early seasons, is they're like, "Man, let's not ever be stupid again." And Finn says, "Wait, let's always be stupid forever." I was like, yes.
That actually was after another line that now that you pointed that out, it reminded me how much I liked it. Was he talked about how he was being Jake talked about how he was being stupid to Lady Rainicorn, like this half scene before that. And she's like, "That's why I love you, because your stupidity makes me feel smart."
Your stupidity makes me feel like a genius.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's a pretty good line. I like that too. And that was my two favorite people. I really like that episode.
It is a good episode. That was
It's a good time.
Now we're on to episode 10, and we're on to Memories of Boom Boom Mountain, which this doesn't take the prize for worst episode, but it definitely had moments where I was like, wait, what? What are we doing? Oh, okay, that's where we're going with this. Oh, okay, yeah. So let's start at the beginning. We open on this village of people who are just kind of fighting. We don't know what they're doing. We later, told multiple times that they're roughhousing. Specifically, it's roughhousing. They're roughhousing, and Finn and Jake are partaking in this roughhousing. And that's all up until the point where Finn hears some crying somewhere. And, that leads to the point where I, in so many ways, wanted to turn off the episode, but didn't, because this is, a podcast and I have to review it. So apparently, I'm going to read this verbatim, what I wrote. So apparently, Finn feels the need to help anyone crying because when he was a baby, he pooped on a leaf, boom boomed as he called it, and he fell on the leaf. Yeah, he fell back on the leaf.
He fell on his own boom boom.
fell on his own boom boom, and no one helped him despite the fact that he was crying for a day.
For a whole week, no one helped him.
I think it was only a day. I remember I rewinded to get the line right, so I wrote it down because I was irritated by it.
Yeah. And it was that moment that he vowed to help anyone in need.
Yep.
Because he was a boom boom baby.
Yeah.
Look, if you were left alone, you'd want to help other people.
So basically what I'm saying is, for sure, this scene, it gets the, Lumpy Space Princess Award of the Week. Which, if you're a fan of the show and like Lumpy Space Princess, let me make sure you understand, that is not an award you want. I hate Lumpy Space Princess, and she is my least favorite character we have been introduced to, and so yeah, this gets the Lumpy Space Princess Award of the Week, is, the main plot of this episode.
Yeah. Yeah.
This episode, unlike other episodes we've had, previous episodes, tune back and check those out if somehow you're watching this for the first time. There was another episode that we reviewed last week called The Wiggler, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, which I hated and I don't think had any redeeming qualities. This does get redeemed, so we will continue discussing it because I do feel like this episode gets better, but man, was it rough at the beginning where I was like, oh, okay.
It has the perfect amount of silliness in this episode, I think.
I disagree.
Maybe it's a bit too much silliness,
yeah.
But I like it all the same. Yeah. So Finn tells the roughhousers his boom boom story, and runs off to go, help the mountain out.
Whoa! Spoiler!
Yeah, I guess we don't know it's the mountain that's crying yet.
Spoiler!
There's somebody that's crying.
They climb up a mountain to try to find this crying, and that's when it's revealed that the mountain is crying.
But before that happens, Jake, is, thanking the roughhousing guys that they were understanding of Finn's story and that they were sensitive to it because he still cries whenever he poops.
Yeah. I'll be honest, I don't like.
I wrote as a note. You know what? I don't like pooping either.
I don't like poop humor. I think that's what it is. Just poop humor. Not that I'm above poop humor, because I don't think I'm above anything, but I'm not a fan of poop humor.
I am still a 6th grader at heart, no matter how eloquent I may seem at times. I absolutely love fart jokes and poopy jokes.
I do not.
They make me smile, make me laugh.
They make
Maybe
me,
just
they
like
make
a
me
sharp
cringe.
exhale through the nose, but
I cringe.
That's fair. It's not for everyone.
No.
Not everyone can get that really highbrow humor. So.
Oh yeah, highbrow.
And we'll continue from there.
Did you say highbrow humor?
Highbrow humor.
All right,
That's it. All right.
Oh, puns is where you draw the line. Poop humor is okay, but puns too far.
Yeah, pun is very lowbrow humor, honestly.
I mean, I would argue poop. I'd argue poop humor is as well.
I can't believe you would stoop to.
All right, so we're going to up the mountain, which is crying.
So we find out it is indeed the mountain itself that is crying.
Yes.
And not someone stuck at the top. And we find out that the mountain is crying because it doesn't like all the roughhousing that's going on in the village below. And so Finn decides that he's going to be the one to stop all this roughhousing and make this mountain happy.
Well, you're skipping over a beat. There is a moment. We have a whole other flashback before he decides that.
Oh yes.
Jake says that the mountain has problems, which that triggers a flashback from Finn because when he had his boom boom moment, some random passerby, I think it was a bug, said,
Little ladybug.
Yeah, little ladybug said, "Oh, he has problems." So now that just reinvigorated Finn's need to help this mountain.
Yeah. Don't look at that baby. He's got problems.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is fair.
I mean,
He pooped and fell in his own poop.
happens.
But also, he's a baby.
It happens to the best of us. Okay.
I don't think I've ever fallen in my own poop, but I'll sympathize with Finn.
I have not either. I've tripped and fallen and pooped my pants once, but that's a story for a different podcast that we don't make yet.
Oh. Okay. Moving on. Finn goes back down to the roughhousing men. and is trying to come up with a solution to make the mountain happy. And he sees some animals on the ground. And he decides that tying the animals to the men to soften the blows is a good idea.
Of course.
And they make funny sounds. They go, they quack. The ducks quack whenever the men hit each other.
Cats meow, dogs bark. The animals do what animals do.
Right, the animals make the sounds that they make, and it's kind of cute. But when they try to go back to the mountain to consult if everything's better now, the mountain is very upset because this is in no way or form a solution to the problem.
No, now there's just these
they're just harming the animals.
These poor animals are just getting beat up.
Pummeled to death. Which is a valid concern.
Fair.
And so they have to kind of approach it from another point.
Yeah. So they go down the mountain to go try to talk to them, and
again.
But they're all being way too loud, and Finn can't get them to hear him. So he starts patting one of them on the shoulder, which they refer to as petting, which really caught me off guard because he definitely patted it. And for the first half,
it's
for the first half, they're all patting each other, patting someone on the shoulder, patting them on the back. It's not petting. There is some weird petting later, but that's a different scene. We will get to that. But
some heavy petting.
Yeah, some very heavy petting later. But that's not right now. He's patting them, but they call it petting, and they're like, "Did you just pet me?" And Finn's like, "Yes." And then they all start. They just kind of go in a line. They all end up just start petting because that's their thing. They like this. This works.
They like the petting.
Yeah.
This is a new thing.
Yeah, we can do this. We'll do this instead of roughhousing.
Yeah. And so they get really into the petting.
Yeah.
Too much, one might say, and they all start to get rashes from petting each other so much. And so they need to find...
Pause real quick. Just for the sake of make sure we cover everything. Finn does go up to the mountain. The mountain loves the petting. He thinks it makes the mountain very happy.
He does like the petting a lot.
Then we cut to them, the rashes and the marks that are coming from the too much petting. There's some real weird imagery in this scene of just super really
men rubbing up against each other.
Yeah, it gets weird in this scene. Yeah.
If it wasn't a show geared towards children, maybe this scene would have been fine. But watching it as an adult, knowing that it was a TV show made for children,
this scene feels like if this show did this consistently, they might get those, Ren and Stimpy vibe. They'd get that kind of reputation. This show doesn't feel like that for the most part, but this is some of that shock imagery. You're like, wait, what? Why? Why are we doing that?
Why is this happening?
Yeah, no, I don't want to see that.
But yeah, so then they realize they need to find another solution.
And the men just the men just want to go back to roughhousing.
Yeah, because that's what worked out for them.
Yeah, it's time to go back to roughhousing.
They missed the roughhouse.
So Finn kind of comes up with the solution that it's the way to solve this is to turn the mountain 180 degrees, so it doesn't see the roughhousing. And everyone seems on board. The roughhousers like it. The mountain seems okay with it, but then there's another mountain apparently behind that mountain.
A nice lady mountain. Behind the man mountain.
Who before they can try to turn him around, it's like, no, you can't do that. I'll miss seeing his
his beautiful back.
Beautiful back. And then we kind of just get to, at that point, before we can really even try to solve that, just a list
mountain of issues.
Yeah, I didn't try to write these down because there's just too many of them.
There were so many.
So many little one-off this character wants this to happen and all this, and Finn he's freaking out because now he has 50 different problems from all these different characters. The one that I'll point out that I thought was funny was it's just the random guy with the long beard. He's like, I'm naked. That's all he says.
And he's at the top of a mountain, and it's like storming, and he's just dancing in the rain.
He's just happy to be naked, but he says it is a problem. You know. And
there was another one that was again questionable for a children's show. Little pollen ball is, or this little plant ball is just like, I need to be pollinated. I need to be pollinated all over. And it's just like, all right.
This episode's weird.
This episode is weird, but I did write that all these issues kind of arise, and there's a few golden moments, a few golden lines that we get out of it.
There. And then just I'm trying to remember where I left off. Yeah, Finn is freaking out because
wants to help everyone,
he's
but
freaking
some
out
of these
though because he doesn't know how to solve these problems because some of them literally contradict each other. Like there's one character that wants music and one character wants it to be quiet. The mountain wants to not see the rough housing but can't turn around because she doesn't. Just all this stuff, like they can't solve all the problems.
Yeah.
And Jake asks Finn, like, who cares what they want? What do you want? Which leads to, once again, another flashback of some dogs. I'm assuming Jake's parents? It's not confirmed, but it feels like.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's Jake's parents.
Like, it's definitely heavily implied, like, you would think that. So, like, I don't, yeah.
Yeah, which, spoiler,
Don't spoil
this flashback does kind of allude to the fact that Finn and Jake's parents also kind of raise Finn as their own kid, which is why, Finn and Jake are basically like brothers.
Yeah. And, so we have that flashback, which kind of doesn't really, like, it happens, but I don't really feel like it really, besides establishing that, doesn't really move to the next point. There's no, like, line of dialogue that makes sense for why we went to the next point. But either way, that happened, and Finn says he wants to help everyone. I guess the idea is that his parent, Jake's biological parents and, Finn's adopted parents, basically, they helped him, so he wants to help people.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he wants to help everyone.
Ingeniously comes up with a way to solve everyone's
it's
problems.
Very like a Rube Goldberg-esque, machine-esque. Not a machine, but like just one solution helps another solution, and so forth, and like just it ends up. It all ends up solving all the problems. Once again, I'll cover the one point that I thought was really funny in that scene. There's the naked guy. He gets a random, steam hat, and now he's not naked. Yeah. I'm not naked. I like that. I like Naked Wizard.
Yeah, he's pretty good. A passing character that is definitely iconic.
Yeah, that's kind of that's the end of that episode. Is he solves all the problems.
The mountain can't see the rough housing anymore because of the steam, and everyone.
And the steam did a different. The steam helped the ice cube who didn't want to be cold. Like, it's a whole thing.
Melt and die.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that happen in that.
This is a scene that we can't do it justice. If you want to know what happened in this scene, you just gotta go back and watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is what I'm going to really recommend to anyone who's listening to this podcast, is go back and watch the episodes so you have an idea of what we're talking about and can really get a full grasp on all the things at hand.
So now we go to my second favorite episode that we are discussing today. The episode Wizard. I'm gonna just kind of go for the beginning because I wrote down a lot about this first scene or so.
Okay.
So we open on Finn and Jake, and they're walking in a field. They run into a hooded skeleton who offers them
looking character.
Yeah, who offers them free magical powers. And Finn, he's all on board because free magical powers. And Jake points out his sunken his sunken lifeless eyes and the foul stench of decay. And Finn's like, "You're right. He must be evil." And Jake says, "My favorite line of the whole show so far. Well, evil, sure, but mostly." He's unattractive, and unattractive people are desperate, so you should haggle with him.
Haggle with them.
And that line, I think I literally, it was probably 2 o'clock, and I literally laughed out loud, because that line was so good. Like that
Nice.
line got me.
Nice. Yes.
Yeah.
Ah.
So Finn, he now he haggles from free magic powers to free magic powers and a keychain.
And a very cool keychain. It's got a skeleton's hand on it.
I think the implication might be that the skeleton pulled it off of
that
himself.
it was his hand.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it was.
Yeah. Okay. So he's like, all right, cool. Here's this magic door. It looks really scary.
Yeah, very ominous, like very much made of flesh and covered in eyeballs, and it's got teeth. Again, imagery you wouldn't expect from a children's TV show.
Yeah.
But, there it is. And they're like, all right, cool. So it transitions into the next scene.
And we transition. They go through the magic door, and they kind of just show up in not a scary looking place with this little castle there, and there's this talking frog who answers the door, and they ask like, hey, can we talk to the wizard? And I don't remember the exact line, but something in nature like, I'm not the wizard. And
he's here, and he points to his like chest, and he's like,
Yeah.
so he's in you, so he's you, but he's not you.
Yeah.
And he's like, correct.
And then he like
His
puffs
throat
out
opens
his
up?
throat like frogs do, but like it's way like more transparent than normal. But
Yeah.
yeah, and we see a bunch of tadpoles in there,
Mhm.
which they collectively are I didn't write down what it was. What was the name of the tadpoles? Do you remember?
It was like Boofus or something like that, or
something of that
Bufo.
name. Bufo.
I think it's
Bufo.
Bufo.
Bufo sounds right. I'm probably just gonna call them the tadpoles going forward because I didn't remember
Sure.
write it down. But yeah, the tadpoles, and they're like they lead them inside the building, and which is actually we find out at this point that it's actually like a wizard school basically.
Yeah.
And we learn about basically knockoff Hogwarts, and
Yeah.
we find out about these stars. And how like there's this one star that like
we go in, we get a fun little scene with the tadpoles.
I don't remember this
Because
scene.
they all like talk in unison.
Oh,
But in like the first scene with the tadpoles, there's one tadpole that's talking slightly out of unison, and the rest of them are just like, Leonard, you idiot! If you don't talk with us, it doesn't sound as cool or something like that.
Yeah.
And Leonard's just like, oh. And then from that point on, they all talk in unison.
Yeah.
But I just thought that was
that
a
was
fun
good.
little scene.
I forgot to write that down.
Because you definitely you notice the audio not lining up, and you're like, is that just me? And then the character itself points it out, and you're like, oh.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So now we go inside, and we kind of we get an explanation of how there's this one main star that shows you're the top line wizard, and then before you get that, you have to get all these little stars first.
Smaller stars. Yeah.
Yeah. And you have to start on level 1, and so your level 1 wizard power is Dustomancy,
Yep.
which
And would you guess what your tests to gain the powers of Dustomancy are? I can tell you wouldn't.
is it?
be
Oh,
able
it's
to guess.
eating a broom, right?
Oh, I mean, it is.
I just guessed that. I didn't even watch the episode.
Oh, okay. You didn't watch the entire episode?
No, I saw that one line that was super funny. I was like, there's no point in continuing.
It's fair.
So I was like, they're not going to top this line. Not in this episode, that's for sure.
So they have to eat brooms to
Yeah.
gain control over dust.
Which is literally
Moats.
there's little, it's the lamest power.
It's the worst power, one might say.
Yeah. Now we go to level 2, which is Shadowsary.
Definitely cooler than Dustomancy.
Yeah. Which
Still debatably not that useful,
no,
but definitely a
But yeah.
lot cooler.
but which you get this one from participating in the old haunted house parlor trick. The blindfolded bowl of peeled grapes that
Grapes.
you tell you are eyeballs.
Yeah, and you gotta stick your hand in there.
Ah, gross! And then you get the power.
And it's just, and then we get a kind of montage of all these silly trials that are happening.
I wrote down a couple. There was a couple that you definitely you can write them down because they're kind of slower, and then it gets real fast, and you're like, okay, whatever, this is craziness now. Level 3 is hair growth magic. that you get from making a pencil balance on your upper lip.
Mm.
Yeah. So,
Yes.
you balance a pencil on your upper lip and you get the power to grow hair. At that point,
I love that.
Finn grows a mustache and like some curly hair and has that for the rest of the episode.
Yeah. Jake has an afro.
I said Jake. I meant Finn. I mean, I said Finn. I meant Jake.
Yep.
I
you
then
pulled
did
a
it,
me.
I then did it immediately again when I doubled down. I'm like, yeah, I said Jake. I meant Finn. Nope. Other way
Well, no.
around.
You said Finn and meant Jake.
Yep.
No, that's fine.
Now we jump to level 8, which this one's weird. Which is mayo coming from your fingers,
Yeah. You can shoot mayo out of your hands.
which you get by spinning a coin.
Naturally.
Yeah, and just it's another one of those scenes though. Like it looks suggestive on purpose. It's a weird scene, the mayo scene.
Just two bros shooting mayo in each other's mouths. What do you want?
Yeah, it's definitely weird. I didn't know what it was at first. I didn't even realize it was mayo till later.
I thought it was ice cream.
I said milk question mark at first, and then once they mentioned it was mayo later, I went back and changed it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a weird one. So now we just kind of continue the montage with a bunch of random powers gained in their even more crazy ways.
Yeah.
And then now they know all but the last star.
Yep.
So they just have the one last one to become like the ultimate wizard.
And Finn is like ready and gung ho to get it, and Jake is just like, you know what? No, I'm good.
Yeah, I
I've
got
learned
everything
all
I
want.
need. I can make
I got control over mayo.
Yeah, I got control over mail, and I just learned the coolest spell ever, and he just puts himself to sleep. Oh. Uh-oh. Is it me or Chris? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Okay, you're back.
Hello.
Okay, so it was you, not me. I was really worried there. I was like, oh no, is the stream going to die in the middle of the episode? This isn't great, because we have, 20 seconds of me going, uh-oh, where did Chris go? But that's better than, crap, we have to make 2 videos and I have to edit them.
Yeah. No, that is definitely better.
Yeah. Finn, or Jake, he's asleep now, so Finn just, says it fine, I'll do it on my own. He goes over and, finds out from the tadpoles that the last star isn't actually free.
Yeah.
It costs the Pledge of Ultimate Responsibility, which Finn accepts without even a second thought. Just like, cool, I'm down.
Yeah. Doesn't even give Bufo a chance to explain.
And Bufo keeps trying to be like, no, let me explain what it is first. And Finn's like, no, I'm good.
Like, wow, I've never met somebody so irresponsibly responsible.
Yeah.
Is fantastic.
Yes.
But
now...
So he gets that final star.
Yeah, he gets that star, but now he finds out that what that ultimate, responsibility is. Yeah, it's helping to stop an asteroid from coming and destroying their, I don't think it's the planet, but at least their tower.
Yeah.
And he has to, just do this for, the rest of his natural life. Just the rest of your natural life.
And we see 3 other little old wizards that have been hanging there for, well, their entire natural life.
Presumably.
And one gets to retire because Finn's coming in.
Yep.
And so Finn decides that this is kind of whack.
Yeah. He's like,
he's going to try to find an alternate way.
I'm going to find a different way to do this. And he talks about this one. I don't remember the line. I didn't write it down, and I should have. There was this one line about youth culture forever or something like that, because they're like, oh, you're crazy with your young thoughts and stuff like that.
Yeah. And so Finn decides to try and use his powers to move the tower, so that the asteroid will miss and won't kill everyone, but also he won't have to spend the rest of his natural life holding off an asteroid.
Because who would want to do that?
Right. And he uses his magic powers to turn one hand into a tiger and one hand into a vorpal sword.
Yeah.
And he gets his flaming feet and
his
angel
wings and then
tiger eyes or something.
I think he starts with tiger eyes actually, or something. It's not tiger eyes because he has the tiger arm, so it was something else, some other eyes, dragon eyes, I think.
Something like that.
But then the best part of that little scene there is, and he's like, and now all the powers I didn't list.
Yeah. A nice tip of the hat to the fact that they learned a bunch of other powers, but it's just too long to list all those things.
And he tries to move this tower, but
he's too weak.
Yeah, he fails. He can't do it. And the other two wizards, the old wizards who've been there for
men wizards.
Yeah, they show up in full, magic, kitted out, if you will. And he's like,
Just
you came to help me. And they're like, no, we just escaped so we didn't die.
Yeah, so we didn't get crushed by the asteroid.
And Finn's like, oh, okay, well, can you help me?
And they do.
Yeah.
And they manage to move the tower out of the way just enough so that the asteroid can crash. And the tower doesn't get destroyed. However, it does create kind of a shockwave, and it destroys all their little wizard robes.
Yep.
Even Jake, who is asleep over by a tree.
Yeah.
And leaves them all
naked
as a newborn baby.
Yep, and all the humanoid characters
have little logs.
Yeah, logs covering their private parts.
Yeah, their crotch regions.
Yeah. So, but so then we I'm trying to remember. That's where I kind of left it off because that was the last plot point. But then we kind of have a scene where Bufo shows up and is like, "See, what I always planned to happen happened." And Finn's like, "No, this wasn't what you planned on happening." He's like, "Oh, yeah."
That's true.
And Finn's like, "Stop taking. It's fine. Just don't take credit for other people's things." And then he starts walking off, and you hear the Bufo be like, "Oh, it's a great idea I just came up with."
Yeah. And as Finn and Jake are walking off, butt naked, the good old skeleton man appears again, and offers Finn and Jake free demon hearts, which they mentioned talking about.
Yes.
What
would demon hearts taste like? Just like kind of a little throwaway line.
Demon hearts taste like.
Yeah.
And so, of course, Finn and Jake are totally up for it.
Of course.
Heck yeah.
Heck yeah.
And that's the end of the episode.
Time for episode 12. Evicted. You gotta yell it because there's an exclamation point.
There's an exclamation point. That's why I said it very loudly.
Yeah. I said it a little less loud, hopefully, because my brother's asleep.
Oh, my brother's not asleep. He doesn't exist.
Oh, that's fair. I mean, I guess your brother is asleep. The eternal sleep.
Eternal slumber.
Yeah, because he's dead. Oh, wait, no, he didn't exist.
Right.
So we open with Jake.
What?
We open on Jake telling Finn a spooky story about this vampire and how it crushes skulls and all this
vaporizing blood mist.
Yeah, and just this is all right before bed. Finn is in bed it's like a bedtime story basically. And
yeah, and he's like, yeah, that vampire used to haunt this very treehouse.
Yeah, and then he just leaves, and Jake is now trying to go to sleep when he hears you. I literally, to be fair to me, I mean me right now, not me in general. I for some reason wrote Jake. Every other times I misspoke, it's because I said the wrong. A little tired, maybe I said the wrong name. I apparently wrote the wrong name here. Finn is trying to go to sleep when he hears... Actually, no, I think right before that, he's kind of scared and there's a worm on his bed.
Yeah, and it goes, wah, 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 wah.
And Finn's like, no worms on the bed, and he pushes the worm off the bed. And, now Finn hears a tapping at the window, and at first it's like, oh, you see a tree tapping, like, oh, it's a tree. And then, oh crap, there's a vampire there too.
Yeah. It's a shadowy figure. Probably a vampire.
Well, we don't know yet what vampires look like in their world, but we do see a very lit up version of the face. So
yeah,
you see the spooky creature that could be a vampire at the window. Spoiler alert, it's a vampire.
Yeah, no, it is indeed a vampire. And so Jake, or no,
Finn
Finn,
goes
spooked out of his
downstairs.
mind,
Yeah,
goes
runs
down to talk to
downstairs.
Jake.
Yeah, to go talk to Jake and be like, "It's true, the vampire is here," and Jake's like, "I made that whole story up. I don't. It's not real. I was just trying to scare you. There's nothing to worry about." And then the wind blows open the window, and Jake gets super scared.
Lets out a very loud shriek
Yeah.
and falls to the ground, helpless, like a baby.
Yeah. And the characters, they turn around and we get like a panning shot over, and we just there's a vampire in their house.
Yeah, sure enough.
Um,
And she drops down from the ceiling, super casually, and hangs out on the couch and
Yeah.
introduces herself
she's-
as Marceline.
yeah.
Woo!
She seems
Marceline!
She seems real cool. She seems real cool. Her name is Marceline. She's the vampire
Very chill.
queen. That sounds cool. This all sounds cool. She starts telling them some of these cool stories of some adventures she's had in the land of Ooh.
Yeah, because she's been traveling for a while.
Yeah.
And then she reveals to them that she's, because she's been traveling around a lot, that she's tired,
Yeah.
and that, they should leave, because this is in fact her treehouse, and
Yeah.
she lifts up a little home sweet home thing,
Mhm.
and it's her name carved into
Just an M.
well, her initial,
Yeah.
just M,
Yeah.
carved into the house,
Um,
and so they get evicted
yeah.
by Marceline.
She kicks them out. And Finn, he wants to, immediately he's not having this. He wants to go in there and he wants to he wants to go kill her. He wants to beat her up. He wants to hurt her, and to get the house back. It's their house. But Jake does not think this is a good idea. You do not mess with vampires.
Yeah, she's a friggin' vampire,
Yeah.
the vampire queen.
Yeah, you do not try to fight a vamp. So he suggests that they go house hunting.
Yeah, and so they do.
And it takes a little bit of convincing, but Finn agrees. Yeah, let's go. And which this leads to a montage set to a really great original song. I loved this song. It was it was really cute. There's a lot of little scenes of them trying to go to different houses, different reasons why they can't be there. Cute little song in the background. And then the song kind of in the middle kind of evolves away from just house hunting into just kind of telling us about Marceline. Oh. And his internet. His internet got evicted. Oh, that's kind of a joke, I guess.
Hello, I'm back.
Hello, he's back. So I was saying that the song kind of turns from being about house hunting to being specifically about like Marceline.
Yeah.
In the middle of it.
Like, why would you kick these kids out of their house? And like, don't you have morals? And she's like, no, not really anymore. I've been traveling and been alive for a few millennia.
Yeah.
Guess I've kind of lost track of my moral code.
Yeah.
Is one of the lines in the song, because she's singing back to this disembodied voice.
Yeah. And then we have like a little heartfelt scene between Finn and Jake, because Finn's just so downtrodden because of everything that happened. They have no house. They can't find this house, and Jake wraps him in his ear. He makes his ear really big and wraps around him like an arm, and he's just like, hey, it doesn't matter, man. When we're together, this is home. Home is where the heart is, and we love each other, so we're good. And Finn's like, yeah, I guess, okay. And they stumble into this cave. There's a little jump scare for them. It wasn't scary, but like a jump scare for them with these bats all attacked when they thought no one was there. And then they realize that other than that one part where there was the bats there's no one here, and this is a really nice cave. So why
decide
not
to set up
live
house
here?
And they do set up house and decide to throw a house party.
Because of course they do. It's kind of weird that that's our first. I wrote this down. Surprisingly, the first party in the first episodes we watched. Because it's kind of been a theme of this show is just, it's a party. There's always parties.
Yeah. They do have a lot of parties.
Yeah, so surprisingly the first party.
The first party in our first row of episodes today.
Yeah, first party in these 4 episodes, which was weird. One little quick, I didn't write it down, but that's what I remember about it. one guest of the party was, the only guest I think we really had ever met before was the return of, oh no, I'm forgetting the name. The elephant.
Tree Trunks.
Tree Trunks, yes. Who, I'm very glad to see is alive. I mean, I had a feeling she would be, but the end of the last time we saw her definitely implied that she could have maybe been dead. So I was glad to see her. They didn't talk to her or do anything with her. She was just there. But hey, she's alive, so that's cool.
They're hanging out at the housewarming party.
Mm-hmm.
That is until Marcy crashes this housewarming party, and reveals that she also owns this cave.
Yep.
Believe it or not, because she's been around for a while, so she's put her name on most places.
Yep.
And she likes the way you've gotten the cave set up.
Yeah.
And
she's like, I'm gonna take this, and Finn is pissed.
Yeah.
And he wants to fight her. It's time. He's done. 2 houses, But Jake reminds him when him and Finn are together, they are home. So, we don't have to do this. We'll just leave. And, Finn's like, you're right. Okay. But then, this jerk, Marceline, she grabs Jake and, she, threatens to bite him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she does.
She also turns into a giant bat at this point.
Yeah, Finn flips out and goes into full-on fighting her. And it's kind of a little bit silly because she's this giant bat. She definitely kind of outclasses Finn in this case. Well, most of the time
only
fighting.
times, I would say so far in the series, Finn is completely outmatched and does nothing. He
tries to go jump kick her.
Yeah.
And she easily dodges out of the way and smacks him on the butt playfully.
Yeah.
It's just very, you ain't got a chance, bud.
He does knock Jake out of her hands though. That does happen.
That's true. That is true. And then Marceline picks up Finn and brings him up to her face. And then he socks her in the mouth and she's like, ow, it really hurt.
You did actually skip a part real quick. I'm sorry. Before that happens, at first when he's just outmatched, Jake then overcomes his fear because he realizes Finn needs his help.
True.
So he runs over and also fails, and she presumably it looks like she sucks out all his blood.
Oh, yeah.
And now this sends Finn into a absolute rage. And that's where he's able to, punch her that one time that actually hurts her.
Yeah.
And, she turns back into, a humanoid vampire. She, kisses Finn.
Yeah, she's she after being like, hey, that really hurt, she is goes into this super vampire mode where she's about to suck his blood and then slowly morphs into her more human form and then smooches him on the cheek.
Yeah. And she thanks him for the fight because it was a good fight. It's the first good fight she's had in a long time.
A lot of fun. And it turns out that Jake was completely fine because he sucked all his organs into his thumb.
Because when in doubt, Jake's powers just solve any problem Jake could have.
Well, he has a magic dog, so...
I mean, yes, but this is a little, Jake's power saves the day ex machina for me. It's a little much. Really? Okay, I mean...
Well, he did eat a broom, so,
Yeah, that's true.
Anything's possible.
Those powers are never acknowledged again. Don't lie to me. Or maybe they are.
They might be acknowledged in later episodes.
So why the crap didn't Finn use any of his powers here? Because they're not acknowledged in this episode when they should be. Finn should have been using some of his magic powers, and he's not.
Finn?
Yeah.
Finn doesn't have magic powers.
He should after the wizard episode.
No, it was his rope that gave him the powers.
Oh, it was the robe that gave the powers?
That's why all of them, all the ropes got evaporated.
See, that's what I was mentioning.
Old men dropped to the floor.
I was mentioning how they had magic power. You were just talking about Jake's magic powers in general.
Yeah.
I was talking about their new magic powers.
And they eat a broom.
You're right. Okay, I'm sorry. So now we cut. She agrees to let them have their treehouse back. So Finn and Jake, they're off to their treehouse, but when they get there, there's a bunch of worms.
A bunch of the Wawa worms.
Yeah, because apparently it sounds like the reason was because they were on the bed. Because Finn mentions like, "What would you guys get on the bed?" And then a giant worm shows up. Yeah, and it does the wah 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 and like hypnotizes them into hugging him, and the episode ends.
Said, "Now come give me a hug," and they do, and it's wah wah wah.
Yep, and that's how it ends.
Yeah.
I'm at a loss for words for that ending. It's weird, and maybe I'm sure it gets explained at least somewhat better later. But as of right now,
Adventure Time.
I'm just like, wait, what? What? Why? Like,
classic Adventure Time.
Yep.
Will they explain it later? Maybe. Maybe not.
So yes,
it happens.
That has been this episode of Masterpiece Media, where we talked about we do hope you enjoy it. We talked about those the next four episodes that were on our list. Yeah, and we discussed them. We had a great time. I liked the fourth episode once again. Kind of like the last time we did Masterpiece Media. There was one episode, wasn't a huge fan of it, but I stand by my statement of what the title of this episode is going to be, because I think it's kind of a clever play off of the title of one of the episodes. This is my two favorite episodes because I really liked the first episode and I really liked Wizards. Those were two really good episodes. It's a great show. I mean, I don't like it or something. I don't know. How am I supposed to not like it? Your intro earlier made it sound like you're supposed to prove it to me. I guess it's too early for you to prove it, right?
Well, when you were pitching the idea of the...
I know. I was messing with you.
That is what you described it to me.
I know.
I'm just trying to keep it consistent.
I'm just...
But I guess since you like this show already...
like we already mentioned earlier about the update on the season, how we're going to structure it, but... Just quick little, update. Chris is going to... Well, no, I wasn't reminding him about that. I guess I will now because you brought it up. Reminder, we're only going to be going over the first two seasons on this first season of Masterpiece Media. No longer the whole show. It just doesn't work for the way we kind of see the channel going, at least right now. But the update I was trying to mention is that there will be no episode at all next week because Chris will be out of town.
I will.
So,
visiting my sister in Louisiana.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode. I hope you come back to next episode in 2 weeks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.